What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of El Jardín Perdido. Today we're talking figs. Alright, so it's the 4th of July, time that I'm filming, 2022, and we have a nice flush of figs on several of my fig trees. And I just wanted to kind of show you guys around, talk a little bit about figs. They're related to mulberry, they're part of the ficus family. But they're a really underrated, productive tree that I like having around. They can go really far north. They're cool here in Houston, Texas, zone 9A. I haven't had any problems. They're deciduous, so most frost is fine for them, although really extreme hard frost in which, you know, the ground is frozen, that's where you could run into some problems further up north. But for the most part, I'm good down here. So I'll show you a few, and I've been harvesting on the regular this week about a pint, 2 pints a day, and I've been putting them in the dehydrator to preserve them because I'm not eating them as fast. One thing I'll show you in a minute that you'll see is I'm not really hard pruning. A lot of because I have a food forest, I'm really pruning things hard so that they're within reach, but this year I kind of let things go for a couple reasons. One being, I want a little bit more canopy for the microclimate, seeing that it's so hot, which is a great thing because it's been very hot, triple digits for the past 2 weeks. We were in a drought, we just finally got some rain, which is good. Yeah, I've been letting them go not only for the microclimate, but in scenarios like this where we're having fruit, there's literally a bird up there right now picking off things on the top of the canopy. That's what I'm kind of doing. Rather than trying to hoard and protect everything and keep it small, I'm letting things go a little bit. I can have the bottom fruit, they can have the top fruit. For the most part, there's enough to go around. So I'll show you around a little bit. So right here is really productive. I've had a few friends stop by, and I wasn't sure of the variety. Here, I'm gonna get a close up of the leaves for you guys, as well as the fruit. And I don't know if you guys can tell by that. I know it's not Celeste. I thought it was a turkey fig. I know I got a cutting like 10 years ago, planted it, and then even dug it up, relocated it, and planted it here in my yard. And you know, this thing's got a lot of vigor. It's actually shading my beehive too. So multi-purpose there. But yeah, it is due for a prune. I'm gonna wait till things finish fruiting this first flush, and then I'm going to do a little summer prune, and then I'll probably do a harder prune come winter when it goes to bed. So yeah, as you guys can see, I've kind of let this go, but I do have a lot of fruit that I have access to. Here's a really nice one. Perfect. I have another Celeste that I'll show you guys. I had it potted. I really don't recommend potting fig trees if you want maximum production. Their roots want to go out. They want to, you know, spread out both the canopy and the roots. So I haven't had a lot of luck, although I know you can. You'd probably need a really big pot to pull that off. And chances are, even if it is potted, if you have that pot on the ground, it's going to dig its roots in the ground too, which is what happened with my Celeste, and it got root bound really bad. But I just recently put it in the ground last year, and I split it off. I potted some just for friends and transplants, and I also put it in the ground in the back behind my fence, but I'll go ahead and show you that. So I mean, this thing was just a tiny twig. Actually, looking down there, could probably use a little mulch, a little more mulch and stuff, but it is putting on some fruit. I had a couple of ripe ones recently. I will say they're not quite as favorable as this other variety. Something else I may consider doing is consolidating and grafting onto this one and just kind of keeping one maybe. This used to be a productive bed, but right now it's holding the beehive. It's got a few peppers in there, but with all this canopy, and I got the jujubes going, and I've got peach starting back up from a graft, and I've got all these bananas. So yeah, I'd have to plant something that really loves shade or start clearing out around here. I was kind of thinking of growing some mushrooms in here. They may fare well. So I'm back on the other side of my fence on technically either the railroad or the city's property, but it's close enough to my fence. No one's asking any questions. I like to grow. Got some bananas, some wild sunflowers, and of course I've got passion fruit vining on my chain link fence. But this seems to be a little more productive than the other one. It must be the fact that it's getting full sun and no real scold or anything, even though we had a drought. Got a few dry leaves here and there, but it looks really healthy, and I haven't watered it at all. We are along a trench here, so when it does rain, it gets a really deep water. It's right next to the trench. But yeah, I've had a few ripe ones off here, and they actually taste a little better too. I think I see one right here. This one got looks like it got pecked by a bird, some insects. I'm gonna let that one go. All right, so real quick, I just wanted to share with you this morning's harvest. This was the other day. These are actually dehydrated. So yeah, I know dehydrated fruit isn't the best option, but when I get that much production in a short amount of time, you know, I'd prefer dehydrating them. I guess you can freeze them as well, and there's canning, but I don't like canning at all because of the added sugar. I think the fruit has enough sugar in itself, and when you're dehydrating, you're already concentrating that sugar a little bit. So yeah, that's probably as far as I go. Also, you should know it's great to have a productive ficus or fig or even mulberries, because they do typically put off 2 flushes depending on the variety and your location. I know I typically get 2 flushes, one in late spring, and then sometimes a little closer to fall for me, I believe. All right, well, that's gonna do it for today's video. I know usually I do like complicated stuff or really obscure stuff, and I guess that's kind of my niche, but I did want to start covering things that were a little more, I guess they don't excite me personally as much because I take them for granted, although, you know, they're great things. Something like a fig is so common, but not everyone knows about them. So I think I'm gonna start covering things that are a little more common. If you guys have seen my tours and stuff and you want to suggest anything that I cover, or, you know, Houston 9A, if you know my growing zone and you'd like me to go a little more in depth about certain plants that thrive here, let me know. For the most part, I'm kind of meandering around before I was planting things that were really extreme here. Now I'm kind of learning some lessons, and I think that I'd like to build a bigger greenhouse to do some more like tropical stuff. But after getting my ass handed to me a few times, between 2 winters ago, we got a really hard freeze. And then this past winter, we had enough freezes to mess with some stuff pretty hard that was trying to bounce back from that previous freeze. So I know this is uncommon weather, and I like to push the growing zone, but I guess what I'm generally saying is from here, I'm going to at least include some more common things for you guys. All right, well, that's gonna do it for today's video. As always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.